Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and we're bringing you a library update on October 1st, 2021. So these are all the games that we received in September to the library, all the new pre-orders, upgrades, etc. So let's go ahead and jump into the list. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about is an upgrade, and that is the new edition of Seven Wonders. So Seven Wonders is a classic drafting game, and this new edition offers new upgraded components, new balanced factions, new iconography, and new updates. So right off the bat, the cards themselves have this awesome foil finishing. You can't really tell here, but they're nice and shiny, beautiful. But the biggest change has to be the cards themselves. So the cards actually change the way that they present themselves. So first off, all of the relevant information is now at the top here, and that is super useful. A lot of cards will have these linking trees, and you can see them up here. In the base game, they used to be on the bottom right here, and you had to kind of splay out your cards that had link, and it took up a little bit of space on the board, and it was kind of annoying because you couldn't really organize things well. It took up more space than it needed to. I really like that in this new edition, they do slide so nicely on one another, so you can kind of just make these nice columns above your board. Super nice, and if you've played Seven Wonders a lot, this does introduce some key balance changes, which I think are extremely helpful. The new aesthetic is great, the new art is nice and blown up, and the new cards really are high quality, and I think it's a good addition for what this game deserves. My favorite part about this game are the different wonders, and I love I love the different abilities and how they interact with the different cards. So great game here. So that's an upgrade to our original edition of Seven Wonders. We have the second edition. Now that being said, now we're going to jump into the new games and expansions, and we actually have been missing lots of these Seven Wonders expansions. So with the second edition, we went ahead and got some of the new expansions. I had never played the two kind of like go-to expansions for Seven Wonders. We had only had Babel, and that one is usually frowned on as one of the not so good expansions. So bad that it actually wasn't even reprinted in the second edition. It's just not an expansion you can get anymore, which is kind of funny. But these two new expansions we'll talk about are Cities and Leaders. So Cities here is a very simple expansion for Seven Wonders. And the way it works is every age you'll shuffle in a number of these black cards into the decks based on the number of players. And instead of drafting your 6 cards each round, now you're drafting 7 cards each round, so you have a hand of 8 to start with. Very simple addition, but lots of cool, new, unique abilities, and now you're drafting more cards, which means you get to play more of this fun game, and now you're actually getting 7 cards each round, which is kind of fun to me, because 7 Wonders, you were only drafting 6 at the beginning. So very easy addition with lots of fun, new powers and abilities. I really like this one, very easy to integrate. Now the other expansion here is the Leaders expansion, and this one is a little bit more different, changes the game a bit more, but I do like this one because it offers some new strategies and things to go towards. It offers a new phase where you're going to be getting these leader cards to your hands. And these leader cards here offer new ways to score points, new additional symbols, maybe routes to victory, and also 2 new wonders. But this one in particular is really neat because of those additions. Now, it adds a new phase to the game that's going to happen at the start of every age, which is kind of like the leaders phase. You're going to take your 4 leaders that you drafted at the beginning, and then you're going to choose one of them that you want to play in front of you by paying its cost in coins, or you can sell it for some money if you need that in a pinch, or you can actually use that leader to build your wonder to get some extra advantage there. So you have a lot of flexibility with these leaders, and I really like that this is going to set up your strategy for the game. I really enjoy this one, and honestly, I'm surprised I hadn't tried cities or leaders before this point, but I'm glad we have this new edition because, let's be real, it's stunning. I really think that this game deserved this treatment, and it's one that I'm enjoying a lot. So super excited with this, and super excited to try out Armada when it arrives. So really enjoying these new expansions or Seven Wonders, and I think that if you enjoy the game, you should give them a try too. So these are Cities and Leaders. The next game that we got in was the new Return to box for Arkham Horror. This is the Return to the Circle Undone. Now, if you're not familiar with Arkham Horror, the card game, you play as investigators, going from mission to mission, gaining experience, building up this deck that you're going to be using from mission to mission, and hopefully surviving and winning the scenario or getting the best outcome possible. Now, the Return to boxes are really neat because they take an existing campaign and offer new additional scenarios, cards, monsters, things that really bump up the experience. And this one is so cool because Return to the Circle Undone has this really cool mechanic where they do tarot cards. But what they've done here is they've actually taken the system and really dug deep into it. There are actual tarot cards cards now that you can use in the game. And during the campaign, you can have this kind of mission system where you're going to be using tarot cards and they manipulate the game. They're also, you can just pick one randomly every round, and it could be negative or positive affecting your game. Or there are some weaknesses and treachery cards that are going to use these cards, or some even positives, and you can get some extra effects this way. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do with these tarot cards, and I think it's just a really sweet way to introduce this mechanic into the game. There are also a bunch of new player cards, a bunch of new investigator cards, a bunch of new scenario cards, so for some more replayability. And the one thing that people really didn't like with Return to the Circle Undone is there is now an official way to skip the Prelude module, which is pretty great because a lot of people, that was their biggest issue, was this one just took a little while to get going because you had to play through that introductory mission, which really was just an exercise in how long can I make this game, last to get a bonus, a very small, minute bonus in the next round. So I really like that. Great additions, great changes, and this is one that we're having fun playing through. A lot of great small additions for just more variability, more variety. So awesome expansion. That's Arkham Horror, The Circle Undone, Return to Box. Our next game here, a new one here. This is So Clover, kind of next in that succession of Just One. A great party game that's cooperative in nature with a really goofy theme, but it works here because you're going to be using these plastic clovers to combine these words, and I really like this system. So for example, a master and a weapon, the word that's going to get you to think of those two separate things are knife. And what's going to happen is you're going to get all these little cards, and you'll be placing them onto these clovers, and you get to write the word that connects them. But then you'll take all of those cards, you'll shuffle them up, and then add a fifth one randomly, and then it's up to the rest of the table to combine their knowledge and cooperatively work together to figure out what you were trying to tell them with your clues. So I really like that there's that addition of that fifth card, so there's some uncertainty there, and I really like just kind of sitting there and watching your teammates puzzle. It has the fun cooperative aspects of Just One, but with also that painstaking, like, oh my god, I can't see anything, why are you doing this, of Mysterium. It's a blast. It's one that we're having a lot of fun with. A great cooperative party game, and I think that's something that we need more of. I really like Wavelength and Just One, so this is a great addition to those cooperative style party games. Fantastic. Love this one. That's So Clover. Up next, we have Rurik, Dawn of Kiev. This is a recent Kickstarter delivery. We got this as well as the Stone and Blade expansion. So this one is a solid game, in my opinion. The biggest reason I like it has to do with this programming system here. The action phase is very awesome. You have these advisors that you'll be using to auction on your spaces. The lower the number, the weaker it is on the auction, but you know that that is going to happen first before anything else. And I really like that. I think that's a great way to do it. You can also pay coins, as you can see here, to bump up those numbers. So that way, maybe you make your one, give it $8, and that way you're for sure getting to do a powerful action, but you get to do that powerful action first. So I really like this system. I think it works extremely well, and it's definitely my favorite part of this. If the whole game was just this, I'd probably be happy, but it also is going to interact with a board that has lots of resources and building, and obviously it's what the actions are going towards. Now, the expansion, Rurik, Stone and Blade here, is also a welcome addition. So I've played with all the content now, I've seen how all of the different expansions work, and now I can speak to which ones that I prefer. Now, the different expansions. First off, I love the new leaders. Play with those. You can easily throw those in. I love the starting resource cards that allows you to get some strategy as to, the initial placement of your units and troops. I love the new buildings here. The tavern's really cool for getting extra actions in, so a little bit more tactical prowess, and I love the stables for that extra movement. It allows you to cleverly set up maybe moves and future build actions. I also really love the addition of the incentives for going up that battle track. It really makes battle actually important, which is awesome, because before it was very lacking. It was better to just muster a bunch. And then I also really enjoy these extra resource tokens, because they allow you to do those bonus actions without fearing for them. I also really enjoy the prisoner mechanic, because once again, it does incentivize you to go after specific characters, opponents, as well as taking risks when you're fighting against the rebels. So I really like this system. The other thing that it introduces that I really enjoy are the factions for the different rebels. I love that it gives them their own unique behavior. We actually played with this armed uprising last time, and that was really fun because it was always a threat to do combat, and I thought that was really interesting. And then the last thing that I think are really cool, they were included in the base game. I don't know if I can find a picture here, but there are these events, and these events will happen once every round starting from round 2. So there are 3 events that you know are coming, and so you can prepare for them and see what they are. So I really like this. A lot of these are really tiny changes to the game, and I think they work extremely well, change up the variety, and they just really breathe a lot of fresh life into this game. And they also make some of the different strategies a bit more balanced. Now, the one expansion that I would not use is this one, the building expansion. The way it works is when you play, you reveal a number of cards equal to the number of players plus 1, and those become buildings that you can build instead of your own. And a lot of times we kind of just ignored these. They really didn't seem to be that powerful. We built 2, I think, during the game. When you build them, you get this bonus in the corner. However, when you're building, generally you want to build stuff that's yours because you actually get points for it. These are neutral and nobody actually controls them, so it felt kind of a waste. And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but only one of them got built during the game we played. But it's kind of sucks when you spend the build action that you spend a lot of time to get to build one of these buildings that it's not going to even count for points for you. And it does count as one of those buildings in that region. So they do have interesting effects, and I think they are cool, but ultimately it did not seem that worth it, and it added extra complexity because each of these buildings has their own specific set of rules, specific conditions on where you can build them. Obviously not a huge deal if you're playing Rurik a lot, but for us, this was our 5th game of Rurik, I believe, and this one was just a little bit too much to kind of worry about or pay attention to, because it didn't feel like we weighed those consequences for building these as much as we weighed the just straight up points of building in different regions. So I imagine that with more plays, these will open up a little bit more, but right off the bat, this is not one that I'm going to look to include a lot. Maybe once we want to get some more variety in our games, this might be when we go back to, but for right now, I think we'll play the core game a couple more times with every other expansion except this one, because I think those are really easy to integrate, really fun, and really do change up the game in interesting ways. And I like that they are impactful and straightforward, as opposed to these where they're kind of on the side and something you can pretty much ignore. I really like the dire attention that you must give to the other pieces of the expansion. So that's Rurik Stone and Blade and my big thoughts on the expansion as a whole. The next game that we added to our library was another Kickstarter delivery. This is For Sale Advisors expansion. We've actually done some content for this, including a how to play video organizing, and this is one that I'm enjoying. So I was quite surprised because initially when I played it, it was not one that I was super excited about. What it does is it adds a 3rd phase to the game, and you're going to be, instead of spending your money on houses, you're spending your money on advisors, and then those advisors will let you buy houses. And these advisors have special abilities. So you are increasing the length of the game by 50% by adding a whole new phase. So you have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 now, and that phase is going to offer special abilities. And I do like it. So this was really cool because the different abilities are so impactful. You have cards that can, go past 30, which is insane for the auction phase. You have abilities for endgame scoring, which are really cool because they change what's important to you, the money or the houses. You have interesting effects that are going to be either one-time or passive, and I just think this is so cool. So you have lots of different things to consider, and it offers some new, fresh change to the game, but I do think that core experience of For Sale is still a 10 out of 10 for me, and I think that this one is very different, very interesting, not one that I'm going to play with all the time, but one that I am going to enjoy when I pull it out. So I'm glad that we have this one. I think it's a lot of fun. That's the Advisors expansion for Sale. So great one. And then the last thing that came into the library was the Nebula Hero Pack from Marvel Champions. A fantastic hero pack. What a blast. First off, that color scheme is real nice. I really like the purple here. But Nebula as a character here, she uses the same system that she used as a villain, where she has what are called techniques. While she's an alter ego, if you play a technique, you draw some extra cards, and then while you're in hero mode, at the start of your turn, you trigger all the special abilities of your techniques and then discard them. Now, this could seem like a negative, where you only get like a one-time effect, but let's be real, these cards are very cheap, all the techniques. They cost about 1 to play. If you play them in alter ego, you draw extra cards, they're immediately replaced. And then if you trigger a bunch of them, you're getting mad value. A lot of these techniques are just extremely cost efficient and powerful. You have a 1-cost card that deals 4 damage. You have a 1-cost card that stuns or confuses. You have 1-cost cards that will allow you to manipulate the Mythos deck, or sorry, the wrong game, that allow you to manipulate the encounter deck. There are so many cool things. And then this Lethal Intent card here is really awesome because you can pay a cost equal to the number of techniques you have and trigger each of those specials. So you could even get more value. I love confusing the enemy, flipping into alter ego, setting up a big turn of these techniques, and then going back into hero mode and just going off and using all of them. She has some really high efficiency cards, Nebula does, and she's got a lot of new Justice cards that I think are just extremely powerful. I really like this Justice Served scheme. It allows you to ready your character and get some more value in that way. And then I really like that she has a new team-up card with Gamora. It's called Daughter of Thanos, and it's just a draw 3 if you're paired up with Gamora. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. And she follows that similar trend that Gamora had, where her signature ally is also her Shadow of the Past nemesis. So I think that's really fun. I really like the system. Oh, it's great. Great pack. Oh, Nebula is so good. I really enjoy playing her. I think I have more fun with Nebula than I do Gamora, which is kind of wild, but she's a great character. Great addition to Marvel Champions. Now we go into our pre-orders. We only have 2 games for this month that we did pre-order. The first one is for Dice Realms. This is a Tom Lemon game, which is awesome. So he created some of my favorite small engine building games. I wouldn't say small, but I guess small footprint. Reach for the Galaxy, fantastic tableau builder, as well as Res Arcana, 2 games that I really, really enjoy. Now, Dice Realms does this using the dice system from Roll for the Galaxy, where you have the faces that you'll actually be using these tools to ply off and put down. I really like the way they work, as in that Race for the Galaxy. I think it's Ambition expansion that they work really well. And this one comes with lots of cool components. So first off, the price point on this is pretty high. I think it's about $90 retail, but this way this works is it's very similar to games like Quacks of Quedlinburg, where at the start of each round, or start of each game, you'll pick a tile, and these tiles will give the abilities to the different dice faces. And I think that's really awesome. So you have so much variability straight from the box, but it is a dice builder, as you're going to customize the faces of your dice. You're also going to have these awesome organization trays that come in the box. So think similar to game trays. You're going to have it all organized right from the get-go, which I think is amazing. And it's a Tom Lemon game, so I'm sure that the engine building is going to be tight and satisfying. I can't wait to give this one a try. So super excited for Dice Realms. We've been promised it for, at least a year. I'm very excited to give this one a try. Now, the next game for pre-order, and the last one we're going to talk about, is the new expansion for Detective. This is Petty Officers. This is part of their signature series. They're these one-shot adventures that you get to play by guest designers, and this one in particular has you playing as animals. So you are in this new kind of like alternate headquarters where you are going to be investigating. So the description here says a tiger has attacked the circus handler, but something doesn't feel right. So you're trying to see if you can prove the innocence of this tiger. So I like this idea. I love the idea that you're playing as the animal assistants. It gives me vibes like a Disney movie or something where you're playing as the pets, and I think it'll just be a lot of fun. If you're not familiar with the detective system, you take the control of these different characters, give you tokens. You're going to be moving around a board to investigate locations. You've only got a certain amount of time to do so. And each day you have to really manage your time and stress, and you're trying to get as much information as possible. And that way at the end you can give some answers to questions, and it's all based on these leads that you've decided to follow. So you have to evaluate each bit of information and see what is the most important thing to follow. It is a blast. I love playing this with my wife. We enjoy this a lot, and I think this game is just a great experience overall. Everyone can have their own roles, and I think it plays really well with small and high player counts. Fantastic detective experience. Probably my favorite in this genre here. I love this style of game for the detective style. I love the way that the app works. It's a web browser, and you're actually playing as a detective, so it very much feels like this. And I'm curious to see what kind of changes are going to be implemented with this Petty Officers version with the animals in charge. I wonder what the characters will look like. If I could be a parrot, that'd be fantastic. Or if I could be a dog or something, maybe they'll have a Frenchie that I could be. That'd be fantastic. So I'm excited. I think that this one will be a lot of fun. I love the detective system, and this theme is just hilarious and very welcome in my opinion. So that is everything from the month of September. All the new things that we got, the new things that we pre-ordered, things we're excited for. What games did you add to your collection in September? Anything that you think we're missing in our library? Anything that you're excited for or that you wanted to give a try? I'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for watching SideGame Strong.